Hi, my name is Charité Ricker, and I've been a genetic counselor for more than 20 years and focused specifically on cancer genetics. While most cancer is not inherited, there are some families that have a genetic condition that increases the risk for developing cancer over the course of their lifetime. For these families, understanding that they have a condition is key to getting the right screening and prevention at the right time and with the right frequency. As a genetic counselor, my goal is to educate, guide, and support families and patients who are trying to understand how genetics might contribute to the cancer they have or the cancer that they see in their families. When someone comes to have a visit with us, we often start by drawing out their family tree and reviewing their personal and family history. This history is important because it helps us know if there could be a test of their genes to better understand this history. I'll put in a plug that how important it is that we talk about our family history amongst our families. Sometimes talking about diseases and sickness can be scary or overwhelming, but it really becomes important information for our healthcare teams to know what might be going on and to help point us in the right direction. So after somebody sits down and talks to us, we talk also a little bit about what genes are and what they have to do with cancer. We talk about the benefits and the limitations of genetic testing and how the results of a test could impact care, and also how it might help guide their family members. If a genetic test could be helpful and somebody's interested in moving forward, then we help coordinate testing and then usually meet again to review those results. During that visit, we hopefully help somebody understand what the results mean in the context of their personal and family history. And if we do happen to find a cancer condition that's running in the family, we talk about how they might share that information with their family and provide resources along with support as someone kind of comes to grips with what that might mean. That information then goes back to their doctors who take care of them and is used to help guide care. Sometimes that may mean a different way of doing cancer screening or taking preventive steps at a younger age. And sometimes, increasingly, genetic testing can also play a role in the treatment of cancer patients. So more and more patients are being offered this testing as part of their cancer treatment. So when somebody interacts with a genetic counselor, it might be very different depending on what their personal and family history is. Many people have never talked to a genetic counselor. I had never met a genetic counselor before I started to train to be one. My fascination with genetics started in high school biology class, and I knew that I wanted to work in the medical field and that I wanted to help people. That desire to work with people and to help others was influenced by my own personal experiences. My father was diagnosed with brain cancer in his 20s. And had, while I was in high school, been told that that cancer had come back and was undergoing treatment. I come from a family with a lot of cancer, and I know how a diagnosis can shape and impact not only the person who's diagnosed, but the whole family. At that time, as my dad was going through his treatment, helping patients meant being the doctor. And to be honest, I really didn't know about a lot of different professions that exist in the medical field. However, genetics always kind of called to me. I thought I wanted to be a doctor, so when I was picking universities, I was looking at programs, and one that stood out to me was at my alma mater, Texas A&M, where they had an undergraduate major in genetics. So I was really excited about that. And sometime during my freshman year in an intro genetics course, somebody first mentioned genetic counseling. And I remember thinking, I don't know what that is, but it sounds kind of interesting. I'd never met a genetic counselor. I'd never seen one in a hospital. And as I moved forward in my studies and I worked in different laboratory settings, it became really obvious to me that while the science-y why and how of genetics was interesting, I was much more interested in understanding the people and the families that face genetic diseases. At that point, I thought back to that freshman lecture where I first heard about genetic counseling and started to explore more about what it meant to be a genetic counselor and how to become one. As I was preparing for this opportunity to speak with y'all, one of the questions that had been posed was, what drives me now? And I really love this question because what put me on the path to genetic counseling about 25 years ago is still part of my day-to-day motivations, but my now reasons have grown. My experience with my father's diagnosis, treatment, and death are part of what led me to wanting to be part of the medical field. And because of him, I am motivated to work in cancer genetics so that the promise of cancer prevention might be seen by families who are at the highest risk of developing this disease. However, access to genetic testing and counseling is not equitable. Most families who have these inherited cancer conditions are not aware of it, and people from marginalized communities face barriers at multiple levels with respect to accessing genetics care. This inequity has become another part of what drives me today, both in the clinical and research work that I do. More than 15 years ago, USC Norris Cancer Hospital provided me the support that allowed me to set up a cancer genetics clinic at Los Angeles General Medical Center, which is one of the largest public safety net hospitals in the country. Our patients have limited income and resources and would not otherwise have access to cancer genetic services, especially at the time when we started to provide these cares. However, with the continued support of both LA General and USC Norris, we've been able to continue to grow our team to meet the needs of our patients. And I'm proud to lead and be part of a team of 5 Spanish-speaking genetic counselors who provide cancer genetic counseling, making testing and these resources more accessible to patients. In addition to my clinical work, I'm also excited by genetics and genomics research, especially in research where participants have their voices reflected. I'm involved in one project where this is a really long name, our Center for Optimizing Engagement of Hispanic Latino Colorectal Cancer Patients in Cancer Genomic Characterization Studies. We now call it ENLACE, it's much shorter and easier to say, is focused specifically on better understanding not only the genetics and genomic at play for Latinos who develop colorectal cancer, but also perspectives on the topic and how to better engage our community around genetics and cancer research. Another project I'm involved in is looking at how we can use technology called a relational agent, which is an animated character that kind of has face-to-face conversations with a patient, to provide genetics education in English and Spanish with the goal to increase access to genetic testing. Having the voices of people from all backgrounds and perspectives represented in research is incredibly important to make sure that whatever science and medicine finds can benefit everyone. For genetics, this is especially important, and part of the reason that a project like All of Us has the potential to really shape our understanding of health. In 2023, I was asked to be part of the All of Us Genetic Counseling Resource Advisory and Advocacy Board. As part of this board, we meet regularly to discuss and think about how the study approaches the genetic information that's given to participants and how to do that in the context of this large research study, which has a huge goal of enrolling more than 1 million people in the United States. You don't have to be a scientist or a geneticist or a genetic counselor to understand genetics. Most of us can look around and see it at play in our everyday lives and our families. I love the opportunities that are becoming increasingly more available to participate in research and to improve access to genetic testing and hopefully genetic counseling. In order to make the power of personalized medicine, of genetically informed medicine, relevant to everybody, we have to be represented. And it's important that all groups have the opportunity for their voices to be heard and their perspectives to be shared. I would challenge all of us to find ways that we can better guide the research community and make our voices be heard. I love the opportunity I've had to work with patients and their families to better understand how genetics impacts cancer risk and what steps can be taken to prevent this disease. I have seen genetic testing change the lives of families and hope that all of you will partner with us to work together to make these important advances in medicine available to everyone. Genetics isn't only important to understanding cancer risks, so I would invite you to talk to your families, gather information, and then share it with your healthcare providers. Reach out to a genetic counselor. There are many ways to be involved and to advocate for yourself and others. This can include talking with your friends and family and sharing what you've learned today, exploring research studies like All of Us or like Enlace to see if you'd like to participate, and look for ways to have your voices and perspectives included.